There we go. Now we're recording. Okay, so let's get this screen up and here we go again. Okay, so 3 areas of hairstyling services. What do you need to do to analyze this hair so that you could do their request? Okay, procedures to create hairstyles and then various ways that you can style different hair. Style the hair differently, you could change the whole look. Some people I know, sometimes they have longer hair on the top. So what do they want to do? Maybe they want to wear it forward. Maybe they want to wear it to the side, or maybe they want the option of wearing it back. So all 3 of those options are going to work just fine, but it's going to, if you change the hairstyle, they change the look. It's like a transformation that you're going to do for them when they get a different look. So the definition of hairstyling is arranging hair to create a temporary change in form, texture, and direction of a finished haircut. Okay, so if you understand how to actually analyze something, then you can probably pretty much figure out how they got there. Like this guy up here in the front. One could be a blow dryer. He could have used a roller. He could have actually put a roller in his hair to get that kind of curl to the picture on the left. Picture on the right, I'm sure, was a blow dryer. But there's different things that you could use to get those looks. He could have even used a curling iron for all we know.
Miss Connie, I'm about to exit this and rejoin in on a different device.
All right.
All right. Be right back.
So these 3 types of hairstyling right here. You have thermal styling, wet hairstyling, and natural texture styling. Okay, those are the 3 types of styling that we have. Well, we have more than that, but that pretty much covers most of what we're doing. In thermal styling, it's going to be a blow dryer, a flat iron. If you want to use a curling iron, it could be a curling iron. Anything that uses a heat device, anything that uses heat is going to be under the thermal hairstyling category. Okay, anything that comes to our wet hairstyling now, you have molding, you have finger waving. Okay, this is what's done when your hair is wet. You have wet hair, you mold it or you wave it into that actual area that you want the hair to be, and you leave it alone till it dries. Or you go underneath the hair dryer, like one of those you set under, or a lamp to dry it. Instead of just blow drying it, you just let it dry on its own, or more natural looking.
Donde ella trabaja, el Ripton, truckers, vino de Seymour. Ellos llevaron de sus cosas, la agua, en eso leche de atrás aquí. Ellos traen en la troca y llevaron a Seymour. Entonces tienen mucho. No quieren tirarlos, le dan muchos de los. Aquí trabajó con Gianni y ella ganó.
You've been unmuted. I lost you.
What happened?
Get back to sharing. I was losing internet connection, but we're back. It's okay. So with our wet hairstyling, we have to dry it. Like we said, it requires drying time. Our finger waving there. Then we have natural texture styling. We have twists, we have braids, we have locks. Okay, so locks are like the starts of dreads. That's if you wonder what locks were, like dreadlocks, right? But locks are the more, what's the word, like the term, the professional term or the correct term, but we just kind of throw dreadlocks in there because that's what most people know them as. But you may have to dry those too. So for any type of hairstyle, what we have to analyze it, right? So we're going to use these 3 levels of observation again. We have our basic, our detail, and our abstract. So look at it at a whole first. Look at the whole thing and then break down the parts. That way you can say someone has like a hairline or a hair growth that's not going to actually allow it to go exactly like the picture once you break it down. So then you'll be able to make a suggestion or think of another way to move it, let's say, if their hair isn't going to go exactly like this picture. So if we're looking in the basic view, we're going to look for the position of volume or mass or fullness. We're going to look for indentations or hollows or closeness from all directions. So we're going to do a 360-degree around that head. And then we're going to look at the outer shape of the design. So like the silhouette, just like you're tracing around the outside of it. Is that person's haircut or that person's hairstyle that they currently have going to work with what they're asking for? And people are going to pull pictures out. I mean, those of you that have done clients, you know that people pull their phone out and say, you know, I want my hair cut like this, or I like this, or I like that. So this is what we're going to have to like use these levels here to be able to see if we can even do their hair like that picture, if that's what they want. Okay, the next one we're going to look at is detail. This is surface texture. Is it smooth? Is it rough? Is it straight, curly, straight, curly, tightly curled, a combination of those? Just what is their hair like? And then when we're looking in the abstract view, we're looking at the direction the hair is moving. We're looking at, you know, all of the extras that we didn't see in the first one. And then one thing also when you're observing this is you got to kind of think about what they used. Like, what did they use to get the hair to go the direction that they wanted it to? Was it a gel, a wax, a paste? Was it a blow dryer? Were you using, I don't know, any tool, like whatever tool you're thinking of, liquid tools versus combs, brushes, you know, anything like that? What would you need to actually do or recreate the style that someone's looking for? Right. So you can actually, like I said, comb it a different way and make it look totally different. So some of the things during the basic form, the basic one you're looking for is the form and the shape, right? Can you make this hair larger or can you make it closer at the top, at the front, or at the sides? Can you give them volume or can you give them indentation, which basically means make it bigger or make it smaller, right? At the front, the top, or throughout the whole hairstyle. A lot of times with men's styling, there's not a lot of volume. Like, they don't want their hair big and full, you know. Sometimes they might ask for that, but for the most part, you know, it's going to be different from what a woman's going to want as far as styling goes. But we do have to make sure that our lines are clean, and we do have to make sure that, you know, it's even. And usually men want more of the clean lines and tight, smooth, you know, haircuts and things like that. So those are some of the things we really have to look at. We have to look at balance. We have to have balance, and there's 2 types of balance. You have symmetrical balance and asymmetrical balance. The symmetrical balance is even. Okay, that's a good picture for a symmetrical balance there of what they may have called back in the 50s a DA haircut right there. That was probably a 50s haircut. The one on the left, they called that a DA back then. Grease kind of looks like them. But it's even on both sides. Okay, you have asymmetrical balance. It kind of seems like it's heavier, more towards the right side. But either way, it is balanced. If it was not looking balanced, it would look crooked, even though it's not perfectly even in the asymmetrical one, it does have a balance to it. When it's crooked, I mean, I've heard some of you before say that it was messed up. You know, they messed up their neckline or they messed up their haircut, or yeah, I mean, probably because it wasn't balanced. So whether you have symmetrical or asymmetrical, that's something that you have to pay attention to, and you have to look 360 degrees all the way around that whole head. It could look great from the front. It could look terrible from the back. I'm sure you've all stood in line behind somebody who the back of their head needs some help. So yeah, we've all done it, right? And we sit there now and we probably analyze everybody's haircut that we see. We're probably looking at everybody like, oh, look at their hair, look at their hair. So yeah, we really have to pay attention to that. Also with the levels of observation, when we're looking at the detail, look at the texture of their hair. Is it, curly, wavy, straight, thick, fine, coarse? What do you think that that's going to do? And then again, there you go. What type of tools are required? What type of styling products are required? Do you need to let it be a wet style, a thermal style? Any of that you need to really pay attention to. And then when we talk about the different texture, right? Straight, wavy, curly, or tightly curled, or spiral curls, or coiled curls, or whatever the word is that they want to describe a tighter curled hair. And believe it or not, and this is true not only Pivot Point, but some of the other books that I've seen, they say this texture has a speed, and you have a slow, medium, or fast speed and texture. Basically what this is saying is the size of the curl determines the speed of the texture. So if you have a slow speed, you're usually using a larger tool, and it is more of a waviness to it. A medium one is usually a little bit of a smaller tool, and it has a little bit more like curl to it. And then a fast speed is going to be like a small tool, and it's going to have some length reduction to it, and it's going to be like really curly for most of us. We're going to think that that hair is like curly, tightly curled. Okay, and when we're looking at our abstract direction, how's it going? Forward, back, side, up, down, or any combination with that. Away from the face, towards the face, like what are we doing with it? Some other words people might use to describe the type of haircut that they want to look out there in the world would be a classic one, or a sleek look, maybe more modern or trendy. So, and then some more of a relaxed look. So here's some of the different definitions in that. If someone says that they want like a classic look or more of a sleek look, usually there's a part, it's usually on the side. The hair is styled away from the face, and you can use a product to diminish the volume, but the hair is usually, controlled throughout the day. It has a nice style to it. If someone has a modern or a trendy look, there's no part usually, all kinds of styling directions, and then product is used to keep that hair up and in there. And then if we're going to come over with a relaxed look, this hairstyle is just going to do whatever it's going to do. That's one of those, let's just wash our hair, shake it and go kind of a thing. There may be some product in it, but not a lot usually. There will be some, but it won't be like a crunchy look to it, or anything like that. It's just going to be more of a natural look. So when we're getting ready to actually, we finish our haircut and we're going to style the hair, there's actually some stuff to this that might make a little more sense. Blow dries, brushes, fingers, all of this stuff, but I like this. Share a negative experience of what happened when you were winging a hairstyle and how to follow hairstyle procedures that could have helped avoid this outcome. So I can tell you for a fact that the procedures that they put in this book for hairstyling for her for permanent waving, for
Damn, Connie,
whatever
can't
it
even
is that
understand
you're
you.
doing.
Yeah, you're breaking up bad.
The procedures are there for a reason.
Yeah, it's like a remix.
That's my rap. Okay, I'm gonna go try to find someplace else. So hold on a minute while I switch locations. I'm gonna pause this real quick while okay, so I moved locations now. Hopefully this is gonna work better. But what I was saying about these, negative outcomes here, the procedures that they have for no matter what you're doing, the step-by-step by steps that are there, they're there for a reason, and they're there so you get better results and consistent results, and that you're not going to be, forgetting a step and not getting the best results that you can get. When you are working with the clients, they're going to come back to you and they're going to expect those consistent results, and they're going to expect you to be doing the same job, and they're going to get the same results that they've gotten the last, couple times that they went to you. So that's why, these procedures are always really a good thing to use and to go for, so that that doesn't happen. So when we're getting into our hairstyling procedures, let's think about wet hairstyling versus and drying it and combing it out, which some of you did when we were doing it on some of those dolls with the rollers. But you distribute the hair, which basically just means that you comb it. You mold it into the area that you want it to go in. You're going to section it to put the tools in it or whatever you're going to be doing to it. You're going to part it, which is basically taking out the amount of hair that you're going to put in the tool, and you're going to apply it, which means you're going to do it. Once it's dry, you're going to relax it, which means you're going to brush it and relax that curl or that tightness from the gel that may be in there. You're going to dry mold it, which means you're going to just kind of form it back in the way that you styled it. Back comb or back brush if necessary. Define the form and detail it. Okay. Most of the stuff that makes hairstyles that person's own hairstyle is the detail when you're combing it out. So while the hair is wet, that's what you do. You distribute, mold, section, part, and apply, which it comes in real easy when you're actually doing it. When you finish it, you're going to relax it, dry mold it, back comb or back brush if necessary, define the form and detail. Okay, so we changed the style, we changed the effect, which we just talked about that earlier, because we shift the weight, we shift the expansion, we shift different ones, and it really makes a difference. So in long hair, right, here's an example of change the style, change the effect. The hair down, the hair back. Looks totally different to me, I think. I didn't even think that was the same guy, but I guess it really is. So gives them more of a casual look to more of a styled look here. Then you go to the mid length. Here's some more. This is a real versatile length, but there's more of a sleek look versus a natural look. And then if we move over to our short forms, there's waves versus right brushed out. So shorter hair, of course, right? It needs more cut than longer hair, or wait, that didn't come out right. Shorter hair usually gets their hair cut sooner than longer hair. So true or false, here's our questions here. Hairstyling is arranging hair to create a temporary change in form, texture, and direction. That one's
True.
True, yeah.
True.
True. True or false? The three
True.
hairstyling are dry styling, wet styling, and natural texture styling. That was
True.
also. At the basic level, determine the position of blank and blank. Ooh,
The shape and form.
probably is. At the detailed level, determine the overall surface. That one's going to be, is it straight or is it smooth, which is known as texture, right? At the abstract level, analyze the blank the hair is moving.
Direction.
Mm-hmm. Texture patterns include straight, waves, curls, and
Tightly curled.
calls it something else. I think it's like a spiral.
Spiral.
Spiral, yeah, but it's kind of the same thing. Setting procedures happen while the hair is gonna say wet.
I thought it was damp.
Hairstyling allows you to alter the shape of the haircut by shifting the position of. That's probably weight or direction. Might be direction. Okay. So let's see, true, false, volume and closeness. Oh, you said shape or form, volume and closeness. Okay. Texture, direction. Oh, coiled, there it is. But yeah, it's going to be tighter curled. Face, oh, relation to the face. Okay. Wet and weight. Okay, you guys got that remembered? Oh, another thing also, I'm going to just backtrack a second and remind you that when you are on lab, getting your terms and things like that out, do those learning challenges that are on the sides there. Those will help you out also in retaining some of this lessons that you need to know to pass your state board test. And yes, you may have someone hairstyling in there. So now we're on 107B.2. This is all about tools. Tools needed for hairstyling. I think, once it downloads here. So do you guys have a favorite tool that you use? Favorite comb, favorite brush, favorite pick? No? Nick, do you even use a brush in your hair?
My hair is super short. I do a 3 all around with the taper, and that's it. I do that once a week without
Yeah.
fail.
That's my thing. See, shorter hair needs to get cut sooner, and
Without fail, once a week for sure.
and you don't even have enough hair to brush in a style. It's a 3. Yeah, 3
Yeah.
of your hair on there. Yeah, well, everyone has their favorite tools.
Yeah.
So we have lots of stuff that we can use, right? Depending on what you're trying to do too, or how you're wearing your hair, you may have more than one favorite tool to help you achieve that style. Right, so as we talk about it, of course, we have combs, we have brushes, electric tools, other tools, additional tools, supplies, products, equipment, all of these things that we can use. So we'll start with some combs and brushes. Some of those should look familiar with you, right? Or to you. Those should look familiar.
Yep.
The way that they kind of rate teeth, or rate combs, gosh, I can't talk today. Rate combs is by the spacing between their teeth. So it makes sense if someone has thicker or coarser hair that you want. I keep losing. Yeah. So wider spaced teeth go easier through coarser hair, right? Versus finer teeth, which go through finer hair. But we all have our favorite combs. They come in different lengths. They come in different, not ingredients, but different materials that they're made out of. We'll pick one that you like the best. So this is a molding comb. We may know it as a regular basic styling comb. It has the small teeth on one end and the large teeth on the other. Every single one of you should be familiar with this comb by now. They say that the wide teeth, in styling now, the wide teeth are used to distribute, which basically means comb the hair. And the fine teeth are used to mold it, which is going to help you place it exactly where you want it to go. This is what Pivot Point calls a master sketcher. It's a very large comb, works good for long hair. It's what they say for back combing and smoothing. It's a big comb. A fine-tooth tail comb We'll part, we'll lift, we'll section. The tail part's real easy. You all are familiar with the tail comb right now too, because I know all of you have been doing 100 perms a day. So you're all familiar with those combs, and they all have a purpose. The white tooth tail comb is more for finishing, separates the curls, defines the texture, gets you through real thick, long hair. A pick will lift, detangle, expand. There's plastic picks, there's wire picks, there's really large ones all the way down to really small ones. So again, it's going to depend on the type of hair that you're working with. You could have, you know, coarse hair, fine hair, whatever it is that you're trying to work with, what type of pick and what type of material are going to work best for that particular type of hair. This is a twist comb. You can use it for locks also. It's a very tapered comb. The teeth are they're kind of close together on this type of a comb. I have one. I can show you it tomorrow, or not tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow when your hair. But you sort of just pick it up with the teeth of the comb and you twist it around and pull it down, and it just twists the hair up. It works good for natural styling and hair that has some curl to it. It doesn't work good in straight hair. We have a barber comb, right? We all should know what this is too. This has a tapered end. You can also use that to twist with. Also known as a taper comb, real fine teeth on one end, farther spaced teeth on the other. Really good for eyebrows also, for sideburns, for necklines, little hairs that just stick up. This is a really good comb to get those out of our way when we're using some of this stuff here. And then we're going to have a metal tail comb. This kind of helps remove tangles. It's good when you're doing hair color for slicing and weaving. And with these metal tail combs, you can get the metal part, the tail part, in different lengths. Some of them are longer than others. You can also get the teeth spaced or closer spaced together. Sorry, I kept losing connection in there. Okay. Then we're going to move to brushes. So the main feature of a brush is the bristles, the size and the shape. So a 9-row or a 7-row brush, when these first came out, there was a company that was called Denman that sort of made these brushes really popular. So you'll find a lot of people still saying that they're going to use a Denman brush, but that's just a brand name. There's other brands that make the type of brush. The one thing that I found that makes the biggest difference with this type of brush is what the bristles are made of. So some of this rubber might be kind of like a softer rubber that doesn't catch in the hair very well, where there's others that are going to be a little bit harder and it may not go through some types of hair. So that's one of the difference in this type of brush that I found is just the type of material that it's made out of. But it's a good brush for blow drying. It's sort of like a half round, so you do get some more volume with that one. And then we have the vent brush, which, you know, it's vented, so air is going to flow through real quick through that. It's going to tangle in some types of hair because of just the way that the bristles are. You don't want to use this type of brush to brush out wet hair. You always want to use a comb because of the types of bristles. Some of the hair can get stuck in there and it can cause breakage. So we want to make sure that the hair is not detangled with this bent brush. But it will give you the quickest way to kind of blow dry, just to get a little bit of volume. It won't give you a lot of volume, but it will blow dry really fast and give you more of that feathery type of a look. Round brushes come in all different sizes. They come in like wood handles and like wood brush, actually, with the bristles coming through it, like a plastic bristle coming through a wood brush. They have metal around the barrel with, I guess it's a synthetic type of a bristle. They also have it with like a natural type of a bristle coming through there. There's all different shapes and sizes when it comes to round brushes. I personally probably have about 10 of them, and I think I only use 2 because I don't like the rest of them very much. There's only certain types of hair that they work in, and mine's not one of them. So, yeah, and they do come in many different sizes. I think I have one that's like a 3 or 4 inch round brush. You know, it works great for longer hair. And then these are called military brushes, but a lot of times people call them like pocket brushes or a fade brush or a boar's bristle brush, just because of the fact that at one point in time, those bristles were made out of like a boar's bristle. So they were real sharp and strong. But now they make them with many different types. Just remember that when you're looking for brushes, the main thing that you want to do is make sure that that handle, even if it's wood, that it has a coating so that it's not going to like absorb the water. Wood is considered to be a porous material. And if it's not painted or coated or something like that, and you put it in your disinfectant solution, it's not going to work because it's going to like absorb the disinfectant solution. So we can't sanitize those or disinfect those. So if you do use a brush like this, make sure that it is of material that can be immersed in disinfectant solution. A few years back, all those wooden brushes were a big thing. So, oh, there we go. See, follow your area regulatory agency's guideline for infection control and use of different types of combs and brushes. So again, for sanitation purposes, we want to make sure that we can, you know, remove all the hair out of it. It can go in soap and water, and it can be fully immersed in our disinfectant solution without like absorbing it, so that we can, you know, wash it and dry it and put it away and make sure that it's disinfected. So when we talk about these electric styling tools, there's all kinds of gadgets out there when it comes to these heat styling tools. So thermal means anything that's caused by heat. So on your blow dryers, there's attachments. The one on the end of this blow dryer happens to be called a concentrator, which means that it just concentrates air to that one area only, which is, it's a good thing to use if you just want to control a certain area and don't want to get air anywhere else. Blow dryers go from 1,000 to 1,800 watts, but actually there's some out there that are even like, I've seen 2,000, and I've heard they even go up to like 2,500. I don't know if that's high. I mean, I think that's really high. So we'll have to see what happens with that. So parts of a blow dryer, you're going to have your blow dryer, you know, your nozzle, your temperature flow or controls, and your handle, your cord, and just about every blow dryer has that little hanging loop there on the bottom. So there's a lot of things that come into play when you're going to be buying an extra one or another one. So like I said, the concentrator or the nozzle is going to make airflow go to one area only. Diffuser is a nice thing because it just gently lets the air flow over it. It's good for curls, to define curls and to define curly hair. It will attach to your dryer also. If you get the one that's going to, what's the word I'm trying to say? If you get the one that fits onto your blow dryer, how's that? Okay. Then we have our thermal irons. Thermal irons can be anywhere from like a Marcel iron to a curling iron, a flat iron, you know, they're just different types of thermalness on there. So it can straighten hair, it can curl hair. There's a lot of different things that it can do. Okay. So thermal irons are used on dry hair. Okay, it's going to temporarily create whatever style you're going for until it gets wet again. So they're only temporary. With a good type of curling iron, you're going to find that the handle will swivel so that the cord won't get twisted around as it turns. The shell and the handle, which is like the barrel or the handle and the little clicker thing on the Marcel iron. This this thing right here is known as your shell or your handle. This is known as your rod handle. This is your barrel, and then this is your groove shell. So there are parts to it. They're also referred to as Marcel irons, but when we go to use them, you will have to have some type of heat, right? So they're controlled by a thermostat, and they come in many different diameters. I think they start out at like 1/8 of an inch and they go all the way up to 2 inches. And you'll have like 1/8, a half, 5/8, 1 inch, 1.5, and 2 inches. And I don't, there may be some sizes in between there, but those are the main ones that I can think of off the top of my head right now. And so, you know, depending on the size and the type of curl and the length of hair, you can get a whole variety of different sizes there. And yes, you do have to do 4 curls with an iron like that at state board. So bring it next week so you can, or bring it this week so you can practice with it. Pressing combs are used to temporarily straighten tightly curled hair. This is heated with an electric stove or a base. It has a whole separate unit, and we will be doing these next week. It has an on-off switch. There's a lot of different types of ovens, but the main thing with this is that it's brass. It's a solid brass, so it's not like super light. It's a little heavier. It has a wooden handle, and a lot of times the handle gets pushed too far into the oven, which heats it, and it starts to burn the wood, so it kind of smells. But these things can get really hot, so caution is used, which we are going to go over that next week. I heard when I was touring the McHenry Mansion, they were saying that John McHenry's granddaughter died from burns that she sustained while curling her hair with an oven, because, you know, back in those days, of course, it was 1800s, they didn't have plug-in electric irons yet. So we have flat irons. The flat irons consist of 2 flat plates. They're made either of ceramic or a lot of times they have titanium also, or just some type of metal. The hair is positioned between them, and they temporarily straighten and silken the hair. They all have an electric cord, unless you get like a cordless one. Some may be heated with an electric stove, and they do come in different sizes. They come in like 1 inch, 1.5 inch also, but they also come in like longer and shorter ones. Some of the shorter ones are good for the edges, like edges of hair. Okay. Then we have specialty irons, which crimping irons consist of 2 plates that have an angular or a serrated pattern. And then the hair is positioned between the plates, which are closed on the hair to create a crimped or a zigzag pattern. That was super popular in the 80s. And then there's these undulating irons, which have 2 undulating or curved plates. Sometimes people call those wavers. The hair is positioned between the heated plates, which are closed to create the S pattern, or, you know, the waving type of a pattern. So there's other types of thermal tools also that are not on here. They're not as common. These are like the most common ones, but there's also hot combs and hot brushes. There's hot rollers. There's, yeah, like the InStyler. I don't know if you've seen those infomercials. There's like these long rod things that you can roll the hair up on. There's wands that are out there. There's a lot of different styling tools that are there. Okay, for thermal. Some of the other things, yeah, there's some of the other ones that could be used are hands or fingers, right? We're going to encourage the direction or movement of hair. We could use them to lock, coil, or twist. Heat generated from the hands could be used to smooth the surface of dry hair. Fingers.
Hey, that flat one that looks like a little tennis racket, that one's way better than the sponge.
It's called a racket comb. Yeah. We'll get to that in just a second here. We put rollers in, you could actually let that dry. As we move down here, yeah, see, that's it. That's a racket comb. So it creates texture and separation on tightly curled hair. You want it to be sort of damp. You can use that to start some locks quickly, and that's a really easy way to, or it's a very easy piece of equipment to.
Yeah, it works
Clean.
hella fast. I think it works faster than the brush, honestly, the sponge brush.
The sponge is more for dry hair. So the sponge will add more texture and separation, where the racket is going to just basically, you know, kind of spread it out and give it a little bit like wider thing to it than the sponge. The
Yeah,
sponge,
you can like hand twist them separately to
yeah,
like better texture.
right. So the sponge, a lot of times it is used on wet hair, but the sponge gives you more like fullness compared to the racket. The racket gives you more like definition, I guess, and the sponge will give you more volume and more fullness. So just, and also when it comes to the sponge, it's going to depend a lot too on the size of the holes in that sponge too, because if it's a larger hole in the sponge, it's going to give you a bigger or a fuller, you know, look to it versus, I mean, wait, I had that wrong. The smaller one is going to give
I
you.
just feel like I'm going like forever with the sponge thing. I'm just going forever compared to like the little racket where it just like just twisted it up.
You know what? It's almost therapeutic when you're sitting there with a sponge on someone's head and you're just kind of rolling it around. It's almost
Yeah.
like a therapy thing, you know, for you. And then for them, it feels really good.
Yeah.
You know, it feels really good with those. But I mean, it just depends on what you're trying to do and the type of hair. And if, see, your preference is the racket. I think they both work good. It just depends on the person and their hair. You know, so
Yeah, usually they prefer the racket.
well, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean everyone's different, so
It is. Well, let me rephrase that. I know a lot of women who like the sponge. So, well, there could be a difference there. So when you get ready to do someone's hair, right, we're going to have all kinds of different supplies that we're going to need to use. Like, you know, the neck strip, spatulas, maybe, you know, those are all single use things. You got to throw them away. Things that you can disinfect are going to be your picks, clips, capes, you know, water bottle, clamp, products. Products are a big thing. Some of these words, so like viscosity, liquids to solids, level of hold, light to strong, level of shine, matte to high shine. That's going to make a big difference because some people are going to be like, yeah, I don't want it crunchy. Some people want crunchy. You know, that's a word that they're going to use. I don't want my hair to look crunchy. Some people don't like the creamy, you know, they think it's greasy. Some people like both, depending on how they want their hair done. You know, some people might want their hair hard as a rock, you know, and other people might want to comb it throughout the day. Some people don't want it shiny. Some people do, you know, depending on the style. So those are some of the things that you're going to have to like understand about your products. But one thing that a lot of styling products have on them is they give you like a 1 to 5 number on the back of them, and it'll say hold factor or hold and like shine. So if it has like 1 to 5 and they're going to be like 5 is the most, if it's a 5 shine and a 5 hold, that's going to be a super strong product with a lot of shine to it, you know, and then the numbers can descend down. But you got to think about the type of hair now. If it's a number 5 and you're putting it on someone that has the thickest, coarsest hair you've ever seen, it may hold like a number 3, you know, and you have someone that has super fine, thin hair and you put that on there, it's going to hold like a number 10, you know, so you got to think about the type of the hair. Those numbers are designed on there for like a medium texture, medium density, you know, medium everything type hair. But it's a tool that helps you, you know, pick a product if you're not sure or what your client. And then don't think you can't mix products together, because you can. You know, if someone says, I really like this product, but it's just too strong to hold, you know, well, you've got a weaker one and you have a stronger one. You can mix them together and dilute that down and give them something in between. I like mixing products together a lot. One of my really favorite products to mix together is a hair serum and a mousse. Just because sometimes serums are a little bit too heavy and too greasy, and sometimes mousse is a little bit too crunchy or too drying to the hairs. And when you mix them together, it seems like I get a real nice combination. I don't know, I just like that combination a lot. But there's other ones out there too. So as a general rule, if you're going to use a clay or a paste, you're going to get a strong to medium hold. Now, this doesn't always mean that, but you know, clays usually give you more of a matte to a semi-matte finish, and it's going to add texture, definition, and support. It could give you some thickness and some body to it. Where a paste is going to give you still matte to semi-matte, but it can be used with a variety of looks. It adds control, definition, and separation. So, I mean, yeah, could you mix those two together? Sure, because they're both real solid. And a wax could even fall under that category. Then when you go to gels, gels are going to have a light to a heavy hold. You know, they're usually very high and shiny. They're usually kind of liquidy, even though it's a gel, it's kind of liquidy. So, you know, a gel is going to give you maximum support. It's going to be firmer. And sometimes they have like lotions too, which is just like a step down from a gel. The gel works for the molded looks. A lot of times you want to make sure that they're alcohol free, because some of them have a really high content of alcohol and they can kind of dry the hair out a little bit. Plus it's really crunchy. The spray gel is sort of like a medium look. It can enhance and define curls. I like spray gel. I like spray gel a lot. I can control where I put it. I can control the amount that I put on there. If I want it to be a little bit firmer, you just add a little bit more. But I really like spray gel a lot. Hairspray. I mean, hairspray comes in 100 different types of holds. It comes in aerosols. It comes in pumps. It comes in non-aerosol. It holds the hair in place. You can get, you know, firm hold, light hold, workable hold, medium hold. I mean, there's a lot of different things when it comes to hairspray. So you just got to find one you like. My favorite is Kenra Volume Spray 25 in the classic Kenra, not the platinum one, the classic. That's anytime I try different hairspray, I go back to that one. So then we're going to look at pomade, putty, wax, and fibers. They're all pretty solid. A lot of them come in those little tub things. So a pomade, it's usually has a lot of shine to it. Sometimes they do come in matte, but it's usually pretty shiny. It'll give you a smooth finish, and it can be an oil or a water base. My hair putty is usually matte. It creates a chunky look. Sometimes some separation. A wax, it's sort of kind of shiny, kind of not, kind of matte, but that'll give you that spiky look. A fiber is usually matte, and it just adds some control to the hair. So, yeah. So to me, wax is usually a little bit too like greasy. Out of those right there, I would probably go for a putty. Yeah. Pomade sometimes is kind of like a wax to me also. It gets kind of greasy. A putty or a fiber maybe. But they all work, and they all work great. Of course, some work better on certain types of hair than others, and some work better for certain looks than others. But if we're going to go with a cream or a lotion, they're kind of like a gel, kind of. Creams are nice. They don't really have a shine to it. It just kind of smooths out the frizz. It could soften the hair. It could define the curls. A lot of times too, they may have some type of a moisturizer, like a leave-in moisture thing to them. They're nice. Mousses are a foam. It usually has about a medium shine to it. Mousse can thicken the hair, give you volume, define curls. Yeah, mousse can do a lot of different things too. And it can be like a light hold mousse to a firm hold mousse. You have a texture styling spray. These will give you that piecey look, the beachy look. Salt sprays are real good in there for those texturizing things. They're, I don't know, they'll give you a lot of volume, but they, sometimes depending on the hair, it can feel like there's a coating of something on it. And then there's powders or dusts, which are usually matte. They'll give you volume, hold the texture. Sometimes you can put this on prior to a pomade or something like that. It might make the hair look like if it's thinning, you know, and you use one with color, you put it on there and then you run a pomade through there. It could make it look like they have a little bit more hair. So these things here are stuff that's put in hair that has no hold whatsoever, but they do have a purpose, like an oil or a serum. Okay, this is going to smooth down the cuticle. It's going to help control frizz. It's just going to give you more control over the hair. It's going to feel good on the hair itself, but it's not going to like repair anything. It's not going to give you any hold. It usually makes it pretty shiny too. So be careful you don't use too much of an oil or a serum because sometimes it'll make it look oily or greasy. Okay, a pressing oil or a pressing cream is used to, she's not in here.
She's not?
No.
When you see her, can you ask her to come in? The girls have a question on the Zoom.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
So the pressing oil or the pressing cream, they're used, oh, Miss Janie wants you to hear your girls have questions. So usually want to use those very sparingly too, because when you put too much on it and you put heat to it, it's going to smoke or burn or smell like burned hair. They're smoky, yeah, hard to breathe sometimes. Thermal protectant is what you want to put on the hair before you put any type of heat to it, like a blow dryer or a flat iron, anything like that. Those work really well. And then a conditioner, they're usually creams. They're going to help the hair comb out easier or help remove tangles, or if you're trying to take out braids or something like that, it's going to help just remove a lot of that out of there. Okay, so then we have our equipment, right? We need a station, we need a chair, we need a shampoo bowl, we need our disinfectant, we need our tools, our combs, our brushes, our liquid tools. We need all of this stuff. Okay. Okay, styling tools help produce permanent changes in form, texture, and direction. True or false? Permanent change. That one should be false.
False.
Right. The fine-tooth tail comb is used to distribute, section, part, and lift the hair. I'd say
True.
yeah. The comb that is used to maintain tightly curled hair is the, I was thinking wide tooth, but it says maintain. So we'll have to look at the answer for that one unless somebody knows it. Anyone know it? No? Okay. Brushes can have nylon bristles or
Not sure.
I think that would be natural. The vent brush allows the greatest amount of airflow, maybe. Blow dryer attachments that focus airflow to a small area are called concentrator.
Concentrator.
Oh yeah.
The comb used to temporarily straighten tightly curled hair is referred to as, we're doing this next week or tomorrow, one of these days, Friday. Pressing comb.
Pressing comb.
Yeah. Crimping irons consist of serrated or angular.
Teeth? I don't know.
Close. They're like teeth, but they're on a what? A plate,
Yeah,
right?
plate.
They're like,
Crimper.
yeah. A racket comb is easy
Yeah,
to
that's
do.
what I thought it was called.
A racket comb?
Yeah, I would think.
Easy to use.
I was thinking, yeah, separate. Hair styling products are used to add range of support and
Texture.
I was thinking volume, but we'll see. True or false, true, hair pick. Okay. Or bristles. Oh, natural bristles. Okay. Airflow. concentrators, pressing comb plates. Oh, clean. He said easy to use. It's easy to clean. And texture. All right, well, we've got that down. That's good because, you know, I got to give you a test on this chapter too, by the way. Just to let you know. So all of that sort of fell under wet hairstyling. That's a lot just for some wet hairstyling, right? There's a lot to it. But that just kind of like all fell underneath that category of wet hairstyling. So we're going to move on to thermal hairstyling, but we're going to take 5 real quick here. So okay, so now we're going to go to the thermal hairstyling. So let me pull this up for you. Ruben, are you back? Looks like he's still trying to connect. Okay, so thermal, right, is the styling technique of drying hair by using a handheld dryer while simultaneously using your fingers, a variety of brushes, pressing combs, and or thermal irons to create your style. So there's a lot to that. How this works on your hair is your hydrogen bonds are physically, wait, let me start that over. Your hydrogen bonds are physical bonds that are weakened or broken with water or heat. So when the hydrogen bonds are broken or weakened, they're able to shift into temporary new positions. Once that happens, after blow drying or thermal curling, the bonds are reformed into the new configuration and the hair cools, but it's only temporary, right? Because if you sweat, if you go outside and if you go outside in the rain, the humidity, you know, it's going to change your hair, right? Because it's only a temporary thing. So that's how your hair gets styled every day. I like this because it says, what do you think men feel about styling their hair and why? And I think that there's a lot of men out there that want hairstyles, whether it is something that is just super easy, like shake and go or whatever, but I really think that men want their hair done just as much as everybody else.
Would you consider my haircut a style?
Okay. If you don't have your hair a certain way, how do you feel about that? Even though you
I don't have my, if I don't have my hair the way it looks right now, like almost at all times, I don't feel right. I can't go without, like, either that or my face has to be like shaved on point. And then if none of them are like right, it's just not right at all. You know what I mean? Like, it's got to be one or the other. I have to either have, I can have like a little bit of stubble on my face with like a nice haircut, but I can't have both. You know what I mean?
So that's your style, right? That's your style. So if you don't have your style, right, you don't feel right. So I kind of think that that's, you know, that's true, right? You have to have a certain style or you just don't feel right.
Yeah.
So I actually kind of think that that's true about, you know, everyone, you know, you get those people that say like, oh, I don't care. I do whatever you want. Really? Well, if I shaved you bald, you would care. So don't tell me I can do whatever I want. Cause like, that's not true. So yeah, that's just not true. So when talking about thermal hairstyling, there's 3 parts. Or there's 3 main styling categories. Thermal hairstyling is one of them. Man, I'm like tripping over my own tongue today. Okay, so we said what that is. We talked about the bonds. So there's the example of the bonds and how it works, how it breaks them down and reforms them. Okay, but this little tip, this is true. When you're using a hairdryer, let the hair completely cool before you brush it or you comb it, because those bonds are still broken. They're not hardened back yet till the hair is cool. So if you start to run your fingers through it or something before it's cooled down, you're going to be loosening up that style and it may not stay as well during the day. So some of the things that we use for thermal hairstyling are blow drying, thermal irons, hair pressing. Now there's more, but these are some of them. Okay, so our procedures are going to be, remember we talked about the procedures in the beginning. So here's a procedure. We're going to distribute / mold the hair. So we're going to comb it and put it where we want it. And then we're going to start sectioning it off to blow dry it. So when you're done and you need to finish this, right, you can relax it or dry mold it, just run your fingers through it. You can possibly back comb it if needed to be. You're going to define that form and then you're going to detail it. Now, some of them you can do in one step, some of them you may not do at all, but that's all of them there for you. So these are the most relevant finishing procedures, right? We're going to relax it, define it, and detail it. It's pretty much what we're going to want, unless we're doing like a pompadour or something like that. But when we start to distribute this hair, before we even start moving along with it, we're going to have to analyze these growth positions or how they want the hair done. When we talk about distribution, there's two types. There's parallel and there's radial. Okay, parallel distribution is just combing these straight lines or curved lines either from a side part or from a hairline. There's multiple parts of origin, so we're starting from all different parts of the hair and we're traveling equal distance from one another. When we're using radial distribution, this is straight or curved lines that are established usually in the crown, like they're showing in that little illustration there. They come from one single point of origin, and most people, where their little whirl is in the back of their head right here, you're going to see that radial distribution just by looking at their hair naturally. You don't have to actually just comb it out like it's showing in your diagram there, but that's a good diagram there. But this is going to radiate outward in any direction, like the spokes of a wheel, like a pizza, like a pie. You know, you've got the center of it, and each piece of hair is coming out from that area right there. Spokes, kind of like pie, because some peach pie sounds really good right now. Okay. So once we get our distribution, the comb, you know, the way we want it to go, then we're going to mold it. It's just putting that wet hair into the pattern to kind of preview the direction that you want the hair to be dried in. It's going to move, but which way do we want the hair to move? A lot of times when you're doing your distribution and you're molding, you're doing it at the same time, right? You're combing the hair where you want it to go. And that's just what you're doing. You're just combing the hair where you want it to go. Here they're showing you two different steps because essentially you're doing two different things, but a lot of times we do it in one step. Okay. Then when we go to section to part and apply, this is the style. This is how are we going to do it? Like right here, they're showing the guy blow drying the front back with some bangs there to give him like pompadour look. Okay, that's your section, your part and apply right there. How are we doing it? It's our patterns, what we're following. So sectioning is carving out areas for specific movement or volume. Size of the brush, the size of the iron, the amount of hair you put in the brush, the type of brush that you use, it's all going to make a difference on the type of sectionings that you use, how much volume you're going to be getting, how much control you have over that hair. We section for control, right? That's the main purpose of sectioning, to control that hair. So when we're sectioning in our blow drying, we're doing the same thing. We're controlling the hair, but we're doing it for specific movement or volume. So some of the things we want to consider: what's going to be visible? What are they going to see? Which direction does the hair grow naturally? What's the size of the client's head? Because if someone has a cowlick and it pushes their head over to, or their hair over to the right side, and they're like, no, I want my hair to go to the left. Good luck. Because you may be fighting with that hair there for a while. Ruben, are you with us? I don't see your lovely face.
I'm here, Ms. Connie.
Okay. And Julian, how about you? All I see is your fan. You still around? Julian, you still around with us? I'm gonna take that as a no. Mhm. All right, so when we part, different sizes of the heads, different parts that we may be drying. Somebody has a zero fade, there's no reason to dry the bottom of their hair, right? But they want the top dry. So we may have a triangle depending on the kind of size of their head, you know? So we got to think about how we're going to part the hair, because parting is like a subsection or a subdivision, right? So it's just going to give us better control. Sometimes they call the subsections bases, depending on what you're using. So they all kind of means the same thing. So it's just a whole like learning language. You got to learn what base means. You got to learn what subparting means. You got to learn what sectioning means, what part means, what subsections. I mean, all that stuff. It's like a whole nother language there. And just it'll come. You know, the more you hear it, the more you use it, the more you'll learn those words. But that's kind of like what they're called. And then applying. That's just putting the tool into the hair. So we talk about base controls. Base size in relation to tool diameter. Tool position in relation to base. That is actually a test question. I always have to read it like 5 times. Base size in relation to tool diameter and tool position in relation to the base. What the heck does all that mean, right? So tool diameter, how big around is that tool that you're using? Okay, base size. All right, so we've distributed our hair. We've combed it all back, let's say, and we've parted out a rectangle on the top of the head, and we're gonna place this in. Our base is that parting that we take. So the amount of hair that we take, we're gonna put on that tool. That base is what's at the scalp. How wide is that area, or how much hair do you have at the scalp? That's a base. Tool diameter is the size of the tool that you're using. And tool position in relation to base means, are you using an on base, an off base, a half off base, an over directed? What does all that mean? Well, that's what we're going to talk about. So it's showing you that if you use a 1 diameter base size, you're taking the same amount of hair as the diameter of your tool. So if this is my head and this is my tool, I'm placing my tool like this, and my parting is going to be from, you know, like the hairline to the back of the tool. That's 1. If it's 1.5, it's going to be my tool plus another half of my tool. And if it's 2, it's going to be 2 of my tools. And that gives us the diameters of our base size, right? So base width is measured by diameter of tool, and base length is measured by length of tool. So we have our perm rods that are so long, right? That's the length of our tool. How much is our width? How much hair are we putting around that perm rod? That's going to be our base diameter, because that's the diameter of our tool. So these, you just got to like learn the lingo and read it like, you know, 100 times to get it stuck in your head, because even me, after all this time, when I'm reading this stuff, I still have to be like, base width is measured by blah, 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 blah. And then I have to kind of like dissect it down in my brain when I start it. So it does take a minute, like we said, to get used to that. So, hi. So our base positions, or our tool positions, we're going to have an on base, a half off base, an off base, and an over directed. Okay, so these are the ones that we've been talking about. Okay. So tool position and volume, that's what it all comes down to. When we come to an on base or a full base, what we have is this tool that sits completely within the base. So at the scalp, where that little parting is, when we bring that tool down, that tool's got to be, if the part's here, that tool's got to be no farther past that part. It's got to be right, the end of the tool has to be right at the end of that parting. It's known as an on base or a full base. That's going to give us the most amount of volume that we can get. If you look at this picture on the right, where this, where this is at here, This is going up 45 degrees this way. Where this little green line is, that's your base. That's at the scalp. When we roll this down, this circle here at the scalp is showing you, see how it's sitting right on this like little parting area right here? That means that it's on base. That's going to give us the most amount of volume that we could possibly have. Our half off base now, see here's our parting, but see it's sitting in the middle of this tool. So when we take our section and we're combing it straight up at 90 degrees, this is giving us our half off base parting because we're right here, half on the tool is half and half not. That's giving us a medium amount of volume, not a lot. Like on base is the most, half off is in the middle, and then off base is giving lowest amount of volume,
You're breaking up.
or the least amount of volume. Base 55 degrees away from, again. Are we back yet?
It's better.
Okay, you guys are frozen on my end. So let's give it another minute here. Okay. I see Julian's fan moving. Julian, are you back yet?
There's a typo right
Okay.
there.
I
In the first sentence.
What? With off base control off the bottom parting.
Width. It's supposed to be width.
Oh, okay. Well, we know what it means. So here's our base, right? We have it come 45 degrees towards us now because we're standing over here. We're going to roll it down. And as we see, here's the edge of our parting. Here's the edge of our tool. So it's coming right up in here, giving us the off base. This is going to give us the least amount of volume. Then we have what's known as under-directed and over-directed. What this is, even though it's 90 degrees straight up here, and we think that that should be a half off base, but the difference on this is our base size is not one size the diameter. It's 1.5 or 2 times the size of this diameter. So when this is rolled down, it's sitting in the back part or the top part of our base here, not off of our parting. And that's under directed because it's like back here in this portion of it. When we get to our over directed, and this right here is going to give us reduced volume, not a lot of volume. Okay, that's what the under directed is going to do. When we get to over directed, remember how 45 degrees out this way gave us an on base at a 1 times? Well, with a 1.5 or a 2, it's going to sit all the way back at the beginning of this base here. This is going to give us exaggerated volume, like a lot of volume, because we're using 1.5 to 2 times our base control. So that's going to give us like tons of volume. So the reason why when we comb out, we relax this out is because once that hair is dry, we want to blend those bases together after we've just done our on base, off base, half off base, style. So like on this style here that we're looking at, the front of his hair more than likely is an on base because it's given us a lot of volume there in the front. Maybe the first 2 are going to be an on base. Through the middle of the head, they're probably using a half off base control. And then towards the back of the head, they're probably doing an off base because they want it, to go down a little bit lower or a little bit, not so much volume. So now that it's all dry with those bases, what's being done now is it's being finger combed to relax that out so that those bases are not so strong. Once you get it relaxed, then you're going to define it. So you're going to use your comb or whatever tool you're going to be using to kind of put it all into shape there. At the same time, you may be lightly spraying it with some hairspray to hold it so it doesn't fall. Then when you get it all the shape put in, you're going to go back and you're going to detail it. So you're going to do that little extra smoothing or that little extra moving it the way you want it. And then you're going to spray the heck out of it so it stays with hairspray. But that's how that would all work there. Right, so there's your definition, combing it, putting it into space there, and then detailing it, be customizing it for that particular client. So blow drying sometimes is also called air forming, just in case you didn't know that. But you can use fingers, brushes, combs. There's lots of different tools you can use, but the two main ones are finger styling. So finger styling is just when you use your fingers. Put the hair where you want it while you dry it. It's really easy. It works best on short to medium length hair. You can do it with longer hair, but you have more control over the hair when you're have a shorter to a medium length. So the hair is lifted from the base or held flat while drying to create the desired finish. Fingers are used to separate and define the texture in the intended direction of the hair. And the airflow is aimed in the direction that you want the hair to move. So we've got to be moving that hair in that direction for sure. Scrunching is another type of finger drying. Okay, this is best for wavy or curly hair. Ruben, have you ever scrunched your hair?
Yeah, mostly only with mousse though.
With a hair dryer?
No, not with the hairdryer, not with that little attachment thing, no.
Oh yeah, that's a diffuser. But you could use it with the hairdryer and just your hands and just like scrunch it up too. One thing with scrunching, if you're using your hands, you want to like cup the hair underneath it and use your fingertips to scrunch it. You don't want to use your palms and go in and scrunch like that. You kind of want to scrunch like that because it gets stuck to your hands, it gets stuck with the product and you're just like sticking the hair together, where we want the hair to kind of flow open so that we can just lightly define where we're going with it. So believe it or not, using your hands to style, there is some little technique to it so that you're not just like scrunching the hair all up. You kind of want to move it around. So a diffuser you can put on there, it softens the airflow, but it gives you texture pattern. If you go too fast, it can get frizzy. So it's pretty important that you go kind of slow and you use the right techniques with that, because we really don't want frizzy hair. So like I said, the vent brush, the 7 or 9 row brush, or the brown brush are going to be one of the easiest ones to use for blow drying. So you can actually put some waves in someone's hair when you're drying it. This is known as a finger wave. Finger waves are made of oblongs that are attached together, or S patterns or C patterns, depending on who you're talking to. They consist of a closed end and an open end. And wave patterns are created when two oblong shapes alternate. And you can actually use a blow dryer and a brush and dry a wave into someone's hair. So what this is showing you is that the brush is placed in that direction first, and then it will be moved up to the next direction. But you kind of put the brush in the hair and you kind of push it forward and then you pull it back just a little bit. So you sort of get that wave look to it. So then when we get to our thermal irons, we talked about curling irons, flat irons, crimping irons, undulating irons, all that stuff. One of the main things we want to make sure is that the hair is properly prepared and that we test it for heat before we put it on someone's hair, because most hair will start to curl at 375 degrees, which is hot. And some irons go all the way up to like 450, 475, which is even hotter. So be real careful. This is funny, right? Marcel irons were first introduced in 1875 by this guy, Gerard or something, Marcel. That's why they're called Marcel irons, because he invented it. Never touch or place it near your nose to smell it if it's hot. I actually know someone who picks up an iron and goes like this next to her face to feel the heat to see if it's hot enough for her to use, which I think is insane. What if you like burned your face or something? Like, that's nuts. I've seen people go like this on their hand, you know, just chuck the iron. It's 450 degrees. You're gonna end up with a burn there. So we want to make
I'll spit on it and see if it sizzles.
right. Yeah, crazy stuff, right? What do? We get a white piece of paper like a Sanex strip or a neck strip and we test it. If that paper turns brown or discolors, it's too hot. You know, it's too hot. We don't want to burn anyone's hair. Oh, yeah, I burned someone's hair before. It stings. It's ugly. Like, we don't want to do it. I burned my own hair before too. So just make sure that you test it. If it's too hot, use a damp towel, you know, put the damp towel around the barrel and hold it. You know, if it's too hot, don't spray it with the spray bottle, because I've seen people do that too, but the spray bottle, like, it's too, yeah, just put a damp towel around it and it is going to sizzle, but you know, it'll work. It's not going to hurt it. The coatings on the curling irons too, sometimes they have like a brass. They use brass a lot for curling things, but sometimes they have like a ceramic coating or a, I don't know what the black one is. I guess maybe ceramic. I know they have titanium too. Titanium and ceramic are supposed to like curl hair or straighten hair because of the way that that metal holds heat and the way it distributes throughout as far as drying the hair out and things like that. But you know, they need to be cleaned because a lot of times they might get hairspray or something on them, build up from hair products. So they do need to be cleaned, but we do need to be careful with them too. So when we're using the curling iron, you have a base to ends, ends to base, ends only, or spiral. Okay, so those are the techniques that you can use. Base to ends, it's kind of like what we do with when we use the Marcel irons. It's probably about halfway through, but we are getting a tight base into it before we're pulling it through the ends, because that's what you're going to have to do at stay board. So that's what we need to practice. If you go ends to base, you're not going to get as tight of a curl at the base, and you're running a risk of burning those ends. So if you want just curls, you know, stronger curls on the ends and a looser curl at the base, an ends to base technique would be one to use. But for stay board, they want to see a complete curl from base to ends. So you got to get used to using the base to ends. You can curl just the ends, and you can curl it up or you can curl it under, really, or you could curl it from side to side. That's one way. Spiral curls are a way to actually get spirals in too, but those are usually for longer hair. And then flat irons. Straightening hair is also known as silking. And I know that that's on the test, so there you go. Straightening hair is known as silking. Flat irons have two plates. You kind of put it between the plates and you straighten it out, but there's a knack to that too. And again, the flat irons have all kinds of different temperatures, and they are made out of like ceramic and titanium are the two main ones that they use. So we always want to be careful with what we're using. If you're using a flat iron, you know, use small partings to avoid indentation, and project the hair at 90 degrees so that you can get as close to the scalp as possible without any indentation marks. Make sure that the comb that you're using won't burn. Make sure it's like a hard rubber. And some flat irons have like a beveled edge on it, so they work well for, you know, curling under a little bit if you wanted to do that on the hair. But flat irons do take a minute to figure out how those work too. So practice. That's all it takes is practice. Practice. Okay, we said that. Hair pressing is a technique of temporarily straightening curly hair and tightly haired curls known as silking. So again, if you're going to do this, you want to shampoo, condition, blow dry, apply your protective product, and then use small pieces to do your sectioning and your straightening. Okay. Pressing combs are another thing. They're used to apply heat and tension to temporarily straighten tightly curled hair. You want to make sure that the hair is completely dry before you go put any of this thermal stuff in the hair. And with these combs, everyone thinks as soon as you put the comb in the hair, you comb it down, but actually the spine of the comb is what's doing all of the straightening. So when it comes to these pressing ones, you have a hard press, which is twice on the top of the hair, twice on the bottom of the hair. And then you have a soft press, which is once on the top of the strand of the hair and once on the bottom of the strand of the hair. Less pressure on a soft press than on a hard press, get it hard, soft. Okay, so with the hard one, you want to put a little bit more pressure. But with this, it's for straightening out hair. You're not going to get curl. You're not going to get it like a flat iron. It's just to reduce some of that curl out of the hair. So again, with the hair being fine, medium, or coarse, it's going to make a difference on the actual temperature. It's going to make a difference on how much pressure you put on it and how many times you go over that strand of hair, right? So we always have to test these pressing irons also. Again, we're going to get a white sheet, neck strip or something like that, and we're going to test it to make sure it's not too hot. Press and curl is a service. It's done with the pressing comb first to straighten it out, and then you're going to go back and curl it with a curling iron. Both of these go into the oven, but we're going to do this week, so you'll get to see the difference on this. Oh yeah, see how that turned color? That means it's too hot. So this is what we always want to double check before we put any kind of heat in anyone's hair. Okay, thermal styling is the technique of drying hair by using only a handheld dryer. True or false?
False. False.
False. There are two types of distribution, parallel and straight. That's false also.
Yeah.
Okay. Carving out areas where you want a specific movement or volume in hairstyling is called, I think that one's molding.
Okay, that's what I thought it was manipulating, but
Yeah.
that's the same thing, isn't it?
Pretty much, yeah. Molding's where you want it to go, right? So you're carving it, you're moving it, you're putting it, where you want it. Lines that subdivide sections to help control the hair better are called?
Partings? I don't know.
Yep, I think that's right. The base size in relation to the tool diameter and the tool position in relation to the base is called, it's one of those ones you got to think about for a second.
Damn it, I can't remember it.
I'm thinking that's a base control, but we'll see. Okay. Once the hair is dry, it can be relaxed using a variety of brushes, a wide tooth tail comb, or your
Fingers.
and then scrunching is a form of, come on, everyone else participate. I'm going to say that would be like
I don't know.
finger styling. An elongated curvature shape with parallel C lines consisting of a convex end and a concave end is called a, that's what the ocean.
Waves?
A wave, yeah, like my hand. I think that's what it is, yeah. Thermal ironing involves a variety of tools that are used to create various texture patterns on dry hair, from straight to curly to tightly curled, I don't know. Pressing hair once on each side with less pressure and heat is called a, that one's a soft press. Parting sectionings, okay, we got that one. Fingers, finger styling. Oh,
Crimp.
we said wave.
Yeah.
Crimped, yeah. Okay, well, we did pretty good on that.
You did.
Yeah, you did good. All right, so we're done. So remember, bring your styling stuff tomorrow, and I will see you guys when you get here.
Alrighty, styling stuff.